The following is a Sunday feast lecture on the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 8, text number 6, given by His Grace Sriman Sankarsana Prabhu, recorded on June 27th, 2010, in Wellington, New Zealand.
So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 8, text number 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yam yam vāpi smaran bhāvaṁ. Tyajaty kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya. Sadā tad-bhāva-bhāvitaḥ. Yam yam vāpi smaran bhāvaṁ. Tyajaty kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya. Sadā tad-bhāva-bhāvitaḥ. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kuntī, that state he will attain without fail. Purport. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. A person who at the end of his life quits his body thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is a point we should note very carefully. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, and so in his next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activities, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one to be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Sadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. So, it is sometimes stated that man is the architect of his own destiny. Some people argue, well, it's all karma chakra. Whatever karma dictates, that's what will happen. When Krishna wants me to come to the temple, when my karma, Krishna's energy dictates me to come to the temple, I will come to the temple. When it's my karma to surrender to Krishna, I will surrender to Krishna. But this is not a correct understanding. It's a fact that we are under the dictates of karma, but we have the choice to get out of that karma chakra. Karma means for every action there's a reaction. So we are tightly bound up for millions of lifetimes in this chain of action and reaction. Even the Bible states, as you sow, so shall you reap. Even Newton said, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the material nature is carrying us like this from life to life to life to life to life. But by the grace of Krishna, if we want to get out of this karma chakra, which is entangling us in the repetition of the birth and death for millions and billions of unlimited lifetimes, then we can do them. We have the option. In other words, it's not that I have to wait for my karma to surrender to Krishna, because it'll never be your karma to surrender to Krishna. Karma will always keep you in karma. It doesn't want to release you. So, surrender to Krishna is when you decide, I've finished with karma. I don't want this karma chakra anymore. I'm not satisfied with this wandering from the higher planets to the lower planets for unlimited numbers of lifetimes. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of going up and down, around and around in the not-so-merry-go-round of material existence. I've finished with this now. I want out. You say, I want release from karma chakra. If one has that sincere desire, then Krishna will bless one with Guru, with Vaishnavas, with bona fide scriptures to guide him how to get out of this entanglement. So the one then consciously endeavors to make this escape from karma chakra, then Krishna will give him all help, all blessings, all facility to do that. It's simply a matter of desire. If somehow one gets that realization that, why am I suffering in this material existence? I don't want to suffer. Why is suffering being imposed upon me against my desire? Why am I being forced to suffer like this? I don't want to suffer. If one has this realization, sincerely seeking relief, then Krishna will give him the guidance. He will bring him in contact with a bona fide devotee, a bona fide guru, bona fide scripture. He will bring that sincere seeker of truth in contact with those books and those persons who can give him what he needs to know. And then if one actually realizes the great fortune he has achieved by that association, and fully takes advantage of that mercy he has gotten. And then he can finish up his business in this cycle of birth and death in this lifetime. Finish it up. After being caught up in millions and billions of lifetimes, he can completely finish it in one lifetime. By training himself, as described in this verse, you understand? By training himself how to always be in Krishna consciousness. Now one may think, all I have to do is remember Krishna at the time of death. Oh, that's great. I'm just going to do whatever I want, but I'll make sure to go Hare Krishna at the time of death. But it doesn't work that way. Whatever you're absorbed in now, that is where your consciousness will naturally go at the time of death. In other words, we're creating our next life right now, this very minute. What are you cultivating is the most important thing in your life? Is it money? Is it power? Is it prestige? Let's see. What are you cultivating? What is the most valuable thing in your consciousness? What do you find to be the most valuable thing? Each one of us is cultivating a certain consciousness at every minute. Everyone. Children, adults, everyone. We are cultivating a certain consciousness. So what type of consciousness we are cultivating at this very minute, you see, that is leading us to our next lifetime. As Prabhupada very aptly points out here, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this is a training. It's like in the university, you take a course, you attend so many lectures, you write papers, you do reading assignments, etc. You're training yourself for the final exam so you can perform very well on that final exam. So, this is a university, actually. We're attending this Life 101. We're taking this course, Life 101, Human Life 101, you see. If you pass this course, then you move on to the next level, divine life. You can move on, but if you don't pass the course, you have to repeat it. That's what we've been doing for millions of lifetimes. Every time we left the body, we didn't qualify to go on to the next level. We had to repeat the course, material existence again. Can you imagine going to university and repeating a course millions of times? But that's what we're doing. We're going through the same birth, death, old age, and disease millions and billions of times because we're never qualifying ourselves to graduate from this course and move on to the next level, you see. This is why it's very important to have a bona fide spiritual master who can train you properly how to qualify yourself to not take birth again. Of course, in the university, we know when the exam is, it's posted. Well, on April 29th, students, your final exam will be held at 3 p.m., in room 708, the engineering building. You see, you know exactly when it's going to come, but in this course, Human Life 101, the final exam is a pop quiz. You don't know when it's going to come. Now, I've seen many students in my college days. I remember instead of hitting the books, I'd be out there throwing frisbees outside the dorm, Thinking, well, the finals are a long way away. I'll just, enjoy now, drink beer, party, and then at the end of the semester, I'll just go on a crash course, cram study thing, they call it cram for the exam. That's take a lot of caffeine and cram for the exam. That was what they used to do. Probably still do. So, maybe they're able to squeak by like that, but in this exam, of course they don't really, that's not the way to be successful, of course, but they may squeak by sometimes by such methods. But in this course, you can't do that because The final exam is a pop quiz, as I mentioned. You don't know when it's going to come. In this course, you have to be ready at any minute. My death can come at any second. I mean, I could die right now while I'm giving this lecture on the Bhagavad Gita. It'd actually be a great opportunity in front of Prabhupada and the Vaishnava, the deities. If I could leave my body right now, have a heart attack and just... That'd be a great way to go. I mean, wow. I mean, you can all strike up a kirtan and I could just, have my ticket to Golok. It happened to my wife, Vishnu Priyamanaji. She was leading Mangal Arti and she came close to leaving her body during Mangal Arti in Copenhagen. She had a brain hemorrhage while she was leading the kirtan. She had a brain hemorrhage. Krishna gave her an extension. But she collapsed leading the kirtan. She fell down on the floor and we had to call for the ambulance. It was a very heavy thing. Somehow or other she made it through. We're very glad she's still here. But it can come at any time. So we have to always be prepared. Always be taking shelter of Krishna. My dear Lord, I'm your eternal servant. That's who I really am. I know I'm not this body. I know that whatever identity I have in this material world is only temporary. I know that my real identity is that I'm your eternal servant. So please bless me that I can always remember that I'm your eternal servant and I can always be absorbed in your service in a way that pleases you 24 hours a day. You see, being Krishna conscious is not enough. You have to be favorably Krishna conscious. There's pratikul and anukul. There's unfavorable Krishna consciousness, that's kamsa. And there's favorable Krishna consciousness, you see, anukul. So we want to favorably remember Krishna. We want to remember Krishna in such a way that we're giving great pleasure to Krishna. With love, we have to remember Krishna, that my dear Lord is so beautiful, He's so powerful, He's so renounced, He's so knowledgeable, He's so wealthy, He's so famous, He's full of all opulences. And He has kindly given me this opportunity to be His associate, even though I'm totally unqualified and unfit. He's given me an opportunity to associate with Him by becoming His servant. My Lord is so kind upon me, you see. In this way we have to enter into a loving relationship with Krishna. Because you see, the yogis, they try to remember God by mechanical method. There's the eightfold path, you see, Ashtanga Yoga, Yam Niyam, Asana, Atyahara, in this way, you see, merging the incoming and outgoing breaths. They're able to bring their mind completely under control, and this way rigidly fix it on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Paramatma within the heart. But what is the difficulty? The difficulty is it's mechanical. It's not out of love. It's by force. There's some pride there. I am strong. I am a yogi. I can control my mind. We see the example of Vishwamrita. He was a very powerful yogi. He had gone all the way to the samadhi stage. He was so powerful in his yoga practice that Indra got a little scared that, oh my goodness, this yogi is so powerful. If he wanted to, now with his yogic power, he can kick me off the throne of heaven and take over the heaven. He was very frightened of this powerful yogi, so he sent Menaka, a beautiful damsel of the heavenly kingdom there, to seduce the yogi, and he was seduced by Menaka. They had a beautiful daughter, Shakuntala, actually, a very beautiful daughter, but his yoga practice was finished, you see. So, to mechanically, rigidly fix the mind on the Supreme is not a very solid position. But if you fall in love with somebody, you can't do anything except think of them 24 hours a day. When he wakes up in the morning, he immediately thinks about his beloved, you see. When he sees a flower, he immediately thinks, or he sees a box of candy or whatever. He's always thinking of his beloved, how I can give this to my beloved and please my beloved, you see. It happens naturally, spontaneously. He's always thinking of his beloved. So this is why bhakti is much more powerful than the yoga system. Because if you can awaken loving feelings towards that supreme, all-attractive personality who's the source of all existence, if you can attract or revive the natural loving propensity that every living entity has for the Supreme Person, then you'll naturally be absorbed in thinking of Him constantly. Whatever you see, you'll think every relation with Krishna. You won't see anything separate from Krishna. You will see everything in relationship with Krishna. Yamang pashyati sarvatat sarvang chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami satchamena pranashyati. For one who sees everything in me and sees me in everything, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So devotee of the Lord, because he loves Krishna so much, whatever he sees, it immediately sees it in relationship with Krishna. How this thing can be used for Krishna. He sees the whole world as the property of Krishna, and he thinks, how can this entire planet be engaged in the service of Krishna? If he sees the Parliament building here in Wellington, he thinks how we can make the leaders Krishna conscious, so that we can go to whenever they have a parliamentary session, they will have kirtan. You see. First thing, when Parliament meets, first thing is, okay, time for kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You see. The devotee is completely absorbed in thinking how to revolutionize this planet so that everyone will want to follow Prabhupada's books as the guiding principle of their lives, you see. The devotee, in this way, he connects everything with Krishna. He doesn't see anything separate from Krishna. He thinks these are all Krishna's children. These are the parts and parcels of Krishna. Somehow they have forgotten Krishna, so somehow they have to be reconnected. This is the devotee's love for Krishna, that he knows that Krishna is greatly pained to see that his beloved parts and parcels have somehow gone away. I mean, if you have some dear friend whose child has somehow been kidnapped and is missing, wouldn't you help? Wouldn't you? It happens like that. Some child in the neighborhood, it becomes missing, a missing child. The whole neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood comes out. The whole community. Everyone goes searching for the child. In the U.S., they have if a child goes missing, they have a whole signal. They have signs on the highway that computer generated. Such and such child went missing. It's a whole system in the U.S. Anytime a child goes missing, the message goes out. It's a big thing. So everybody can think, where is this missing child, you see? So there are these missing children, you see. These children have gone missing, and the father, Krishna, he is greatly pained, especially in his manifestation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's in great anxiety that all of these, his beloved parts and parcels, his children, they have become lost. They become lost children. So therefore the devotee, he absorbs himself completely in canvassing on behalf of the Lord to try to bring these missing children back. Just imagine how dear to the Lord is that person who can bring the missing children back to the Lord. If your neighbor lost their child, went missing, and you'd have found the child, just imagine how much that neighbor would be grateful to you. You helped it. You found my child. My life is practically finished. I was so devastated that my child has been missing for 5 days, and you found my child. How much they'd be grateful they would feel, you see. Therefore, Krishna says there is no servant in this world, there's no servant in this world who is more dear to me than that one, and that soul who preaches on my behalf. You see, there's no one more dear to me, nor will there ever be anyone more dear. Krishna explained this in chapter 18 in the Bhagavad Gita. So, if we take up the mission of the Lord of trying to help Him in His business of reclaiming His lost children, then He will bless us, that we can always think of Him and remember Him. So, it's not only that we think of remembering Krishna, we think of how to serve the desire of Krishna, you see. If we think of how to serve the desires of Krishna, this is what Christ taught in the Bible. Also He said, Father, not my will, but thy will be done. My Lord, what I want doesn't matter, simply what you want matters. You see, this is the pure devotee's mood. I simply want to do what God wants me to do. Because as soon as we think like that I simply want to do what God wants, what I want, where have my desires gotten me? Another rotting material body. That's where my desires have gotten me, into this rotting tomb of flesh and blood. That's where my desires have gotten me. What good are my desires? My nonsense desires, you see. Let me simply desire to please my Lord Krishna. Let His desires be my desires. That my dear Lord, from now on, my only desire is to serve your desires. So you kindly enlighten me what you want me to do, you see. This is the mood of pure devotion. That my dear Lord, henceforward, simply what you desire from me, that's all. Whatever you want, I'm fully your submitted servant. You simply instruct me and I will carry out your order. You see, this is the mood of the devotee. In such a state of consciousness, of being completely immersed in serving the Lord, one cannot help but constantly be absorbed in thoughts of the Lord and be guaranteed entrance into the Lord's transcendental kingdom at the time of leaving his body. So I see there's devotees writing down questions now, so if there's anybody who can pass some questions up, I can answer them.
I'll pass this paper around.
What's our time limit today? 2? Okay. All right, good. All right, let's see. What activities are most effective for remembering Krishna? Well, according to the Brihad Naradiya Purana, Haranama, Haranama, Haranama iva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatiyadanyata. We should observe, in this age, the remembering, of course, is the third item mentioned by Bhakti Prahlad. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So that remembering is based on hearing and chanting. That's what it's based on. If you will hear about Krishna and you will chant Krishna's names, that is the most effective technique. Therefore we ask all of our members to chant Japamala every day at least 16 rounds and to engage in Sankirtan as far as possible. Congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because this hearing and chanting is the most effective means of absorbing the consciousness and thoughts of Krishna. What activities are most effective for removing past memories and conditioning? Any devotional service that you can do, whether it's deity worship, whether it's cooking, cleaning, going on Harinam Sankirtan, bowing down before the Lord, all of these devotional activities, it's not so much which activity, which type of devotional activity is most effective, it's a matter of how you do it. Do you do it mechanically? You do it with feeling and with love. Whatever you do, whether you're offering food, whether you're cooking for Krishna, cleaning for Krishna, whatever you're doing in Krishna consciousness, do it with love. Remember, there's a person there. He wants your loving service. He wants your affection. Do it in a mood of loving reciprocation with a real person who's the source of all persons. The quality of the activity is more important than the type of activity. Because there's 9 different types of devotional service. Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, serving the Lord, offering prayers, so many different types of devotional activities. But what is the quality that one does them with? That's the most important thing. What kinds of consciousness one develops by overusing the internet? Well, the internet is not the issue, it's a matter of overdoing anything. Overdoing anything means, if you're using it for Krishna, there's no question of overdoing anything. Is there a question of too much chanting? Too much remembering Krishna? Too much preaching? No. Overusing means, when it comes to activities of sense enjoyment are necessary to keep body and soul together. So, if I go beyond what is necessary to keep myself healthy, then I'm overusing. Whether it's the internet or anything. The internet can be used in Krishna's service, but one becomes an internet addict. He just starts surfing and he can't stop. He goes to this site, to that site, surf. No. Whatever your service is, whatever your duty is, if you can use the internet to do that, that's all right. But if you get carried away and think, well, I have to go here, there's this link, and that link, you just go link hopping, through cyberspace, and for no purpose except you're being attracted by the internet. Then you become it's just like an animal. That's following the dictates of the senses. If technology can be used for Krishna consciousness, can devotees play tapes rather than chanting their japa? It's like, well, can somebody else remember Krishna for me? I might have remembered him, but I'll ask Jagjivan to remember Krishna for me on my behalf. Doesn't work. At the time of death, you have to fly your own airplane. Easy. It's up to you. Nobody else can remember Krishna for you at the time of death. So we have to be able to fly our own airplanes. You can't let somebody else do the chanting on a tape. You may say, well, I'm so Krishna conscious when I play tapes or MP3s, it's so Krishna conscious, this is great. I'll just make sure to have a tape available at the time of death and then I'll have no problem. But what happens if your battery went dead on your MP3 player at the time of death? Well, that's great, I'm leaving my body, stick the battery. Oh no, the batteries are dead. Oh. No, you have to be able to chant. You have to learn how to take shelter of the names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And even if there's no MP3 player that play a tape, your own chanting, you see, will save you. By Krishna's grace. Taking...
Prabhuji, those two questions are interrelated. And the reason for raising that was the way the conscious is developing in amongst devotees these days, sometimes is becoming a big concern because the amount of time, not only devotees, but some of our senior members, Maharajas, are spending on internet. So the question is, what kind of conscious are we developing, even though you might be reading Krishna conscious emails and things like that. But the reason I'm raising is because our Guru Maharaj was very, very particular about this. He always discouraged devotees to use internet for preaching papers or anything. Just the email or something is fine. But the amount of time that some of us are spending now on internet, what kind of conscious is that developing, and where is that going to lead us to?
Well, it depends on how one is utilizing the internet. If one actually has service that requires him to use the internet, just like I have 12,000 people on my e-course, and I'm answering their questions. Now, is that excessive use of the internet? I have people out there begging me to answer their questions. I say, well, just let them... I won't answer their questions because I don't want to overuse the internet. Just let them not get their questions answered. The internet is a medium, just like it's a way of communication, just like writing letters is also. Prabhupada utilized a dictaphone for answering letters, and then he would have the devotees type them up. So that's another type of technology, using a machine, you see, to dictate a letter that's then somebody types up. So it's the consciousness that is actually more important. It's not using any particular thing. The thing itself is neutral. Anything, whether it's a dictation machine that Prabhupada used regularly, dictation machine. The internet is also a technical medium, just as a dictation machine is. If one becomes carried away by the machine, that's the problem, you see. And that can easily happen with the internet. That's the difficulty. If someone is totally caught up in the internet and they're not doing their duties, then obviously there's something wrong there. That they don't come to Mangalarti because they're up late on the internet. Obviously they're overusing it, they're abusing it. Any material thing can be used for Krishna. If that thing is used in such a way that one's Krishna consciousness is going down, then it's obviously being abused. But Rupa Goswami also says if any material thing can be used in Krishna's service, it's a mistake to give it up. So we have to judge by the result. Is that person Krishna conscious? And by using the internet in Krishna's service, are they expanding their preaching and expanding their Krishna consciousness, or are they going down the tubes? Are they losing their Krishna consciousness over it? I suspect that your Guru Maharaj said that thing because he was seeing so many devotees misusing the internet and being carried away by it. But that doesn't mean it's Maya to use the internet. It just means it's Maya to use the internet in a sense gratificatory fashion. I mean, I have to use the internet a lot personally because they even sometimes call me the internet guru because I've done so much successful preaching over the internet. I made devotees over the internet, so that's Maya. I made some devotee over the internet. So it's really a question of how the internet's being utilized. If one is using it in such a way that one is being successful in preaching Krishna consciousness, then that falls within the category of proper utilization of the energy of the Lord in the service of the Lord. If such utilization is taking one away from Krishna, then obviously one is abusing it. Prabhupada was criticized that he was going to, he was leaving Vrindavan and going to the printing houses in Delhi. He mentioned this in those original brown volumes of the Bhagavatam, those 3 volumes. And when the introduction, I think it was the 2nd volume, he mentioned he was being criticized for he was going to see the printers. He would get on the train, he would go to Delhi to see the printers. He was very interested. Someone would say, oh, Swamiji is too much interested in pounds, shillings, and pence. He's going to the printers, he's getting prices of printing paper, he's not Krishna conscious, you see. He could have been criticized. He's overusing modern technology, you see. So what is the result? The Prabhupada was so keen, he even had the devotees... IBM Corporation came out with the typesetting machine way back in the late 60s. So Prabhupada had his disciples purchase an IBM typesetting machine. That was before there was computers. It's an IBM typesetting machine. Well, this is materialistic, getting carried away by technology. No. If something can be used properly in Krishna's service, then that is transcendental. If that thing is being used for sense enjoyment, then that's just the opposite. It can destroy one's Krishna consciousness. Okay, taking medication from gelatin capsules, is it okay for Vaishnava devotees? Also, animal products are in everyday things like toothpaste, etc. Well, it's always good to avoid as much as possible. If at all possible, avoid it, obviously. If it's absolutely impossible, what you can do. Maybe, but I have a very severe problem with my hearing, and I found a doctor who has a whole program of nutritional restoration or strengthening of the hearing, and he gave a whole list of different things that one should take on a regular daily basis. So I started looking, and I found that these products, they were in gelatin caps. So what to do? I should forget about the cure. But then I found a website going on the internet. I found a website called iherb.com, which sells they have thousands of herbal products, and on that side I found I could get every single product in a non-gelatin veggie cap. Everything, completely vegetarian. So I was able to order every single prescribed type of nutritional product in a non-gelatin cap. So the thing is, one should be very eager and keen to find a non-gelatin if at all possible. But if it's absolutely unworkable, Prabhupada, there's one letter in the Vedabase where Prabhupada authorized someone to take insulin. A diabetic has to have insulin, and this is an animal product. So as far as possible, avoid it if it's absolutely essential and it's unavoidable. Now this is a real shocker, but Prabhupada told us in New Vrindavan that there's a type of Ayurvedic medicine where they take a live goat and throw him in the boiling ghee. It's pretty heavy. In the Ayurveda, there's such a medicine, and Prabhupada told the devotees, they were shocked to hear Prabhupada saying this. But in terms of medication, if there's human life is more valuable than an animal life. It comes to a human life, an animal life being sacrificed for a human life. In terms of medication, it's a bona fide principle that one could utilize animal products if one had to. But in terms of life and death situation. But obviously, you avoid it as much as you possibly can. And nowadays, it's easy to find, especially with the vegan movement coming up. You can go on the internet, you can get non-leather shoes, you get non-leather everything on the internet nowadays. It's easy to get. People say, well, I have to wear leather shoes. But no, you can easily get non-leather shoes that look like leather shoes if you need them. It's not difficult. Yes?
Regarding stem cell research and things like that, what is our stance on that?
Tell me what he's saying.
Stem cell?
Temple?
They're using stem cell to cure certain diseases these days.
Cancers.
What's a certain type of medicine?
Stem cells. But those are the cells taken out of the live fetus. Those are
stem cells.
Stem cells.
Yes.
Obviously, this stuff should be avoided. I'm not an expert on stem cell technology and what the details of it are, to be honest. The real bottom line is, when you get to all this kind of stuff, talking about stem cell research, the real thing is to get back to the natural state. You see, we've created an artificial atmosphere by taking God out of the center. That's the problem. We've created a very artificial atmosphere on this planet by taking God out of the center and trying to ourselves play God by our advancement of modern day technology. If we can simply get back to a natural, God-centered consciousness, they won't need all this stuff. Won't be necessary.
People won't be living long enough.
People won't be living long enough.
Won't be living
long enough.
Long enough.
People won't live long enough if they don't take those items.
If they don't take those? Yes. No, we will increase them. Our longevity has gone down because of material consciousness. we've actually decreased our longevity by our materialistic civilization. We create an artificial atmosphere, polluted air, polluted water, polluted cities, polluted consciousness. There's so much stress, there's so much anxiety, people are dying young. We are dying unnaturally young. In the Kali Yuga, actually we're meant to live to be 100 years. That's a normal lifespan. How many people live to be 100?
According to statistics, people are living longer.
According to statistics, people are living longer.
If you take into account abortion, then the life...
I don't see it in my family anyway. Maybe it's true in somebody else's family. It didn't happen in my family. My great-grandparents, they were living much older than my parents. I'd be interested to study to see how they're coming up with those statistics. I'd be very interested to see how they're calculating, because statistics can be juggled also. If somebody wants to prove a certain point, they can juggle the statistics. Because I see that I remember my great grandparents. They were very, very. People used to live to be much older than the lifespan is going down. That's what I'm seeing. But I'd be interested to see if you can show me those statistics, how they're coming up with them. It'd be very interesting to see. Because we know from the Vedic histories that in the Dwapara Yuga, people lived to be 1,000 years old. 1,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, they lived to be 10,000 years. In the Satya Yuga, 100,000 years. So show me how, if by their modern technology, by stem cell research, they can have somebody living 100,000 years, then I'll give them some credit. But I don't see that they're actually. I don't see people living longer. Maybe by a short-range study, a very narrow study. Longer than 20 years ago or something like that. But in the long run, lifespan is going down.
In the world life statistics, the maximum living people more than 100 years is in Japan. Maximum number of people having more than 100 years in Japan only.
Yeah, in Japan?
Yeah.
Now, it'll be interesting to see how they come up with those statistics, because as an overall pattern, the lifespan is actually going down. In the if you take the last 5,000 years, and you could take all those statistics, you would see definitely the lifespan is shorter now than it was 5,000 years ago. That you would see. Now, if they take a short run in the last 40 years, then there could be ups and downs. It could be on an upswing right now. I'm not saying it isn't. From what it was, 20 years ago, it could be an upswing right now. But it's like you can look at the stock market. You can look at a little narrow part of it. There's an up, and then if you look at the broader picture, you see within. In other words, the broader picture is it's like this is going down, but within a short period there could be an upswing within the down.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not an upswing right now. There could be an upswing. That they've done certain things to counteract all the things that have been done to shorten our lifespan. There could be an upswing right now, but the general pattern, if you look at the broadest thing, you'll see an overall downward trend right now. It could be an upswing right now, a short-run upswing. I'm not saying it isn't. But the Shastras, Vyasa, who has perfect vision of past, present, and future, he is stating, and you can see it in Africa right now. There are nations right now where the oldest people are in their 30s. Even right now in Africa, it's already happening. And it's predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam that a 20-year-old man at the end of Kali Yuga will be considered a senior citizen. 20-year-old man will be a senior citizen at the end of the Kali Yuga. So in the long perspective, that's where we're heading. We may have an upswing now, but the Shastra says it's not going to. It's a short upswing within the greater downturn. Okay, what happens to a saint if at his last moments he loses his Krishna consciousness and enters into coma? Yeah. Well, a great saint will remember Krishna in his coma. by Krishna's grace. How can we know what is Krishna's desire, plan, and act on it? It's very simple. You just have to read the Bhagavad Gita. I know this was my own personal dilemma, because back in the spring of 1971 I had the realization that I should simply do what God wants me to do, but I didn't know what God wanted me to do. But then I found out that God is directly saying in the Bhagavad Gita that you should place yourself under the guidance of a spiritual master and follow his instructions. So then I understood that now the problem is solved, because all I have to do is take shelter of a spiritual master and follow his instructions, and that way I'll be doing exactly what Krishna wants me to do. And the spiritual master doesn't leave me, he keeps me busy 24 hours a day. Prabhupada keeps me busy my life is completely absorbed in serving Srila Prabhupada's order from the moment I wake up to the moment I take rest at night. So there's no question of not knowing what Krishna wants me to do, because Krishna is represented by Srila Prabhupada, and by doing what Prabhupada wants me to do, I know what Krishna wants me to do. So as it was one willing to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. That's the real thing. It's not easy always to do that. Of course, actually it is ultimately the easiest thing to do. But many of us find it difficult to do that. We'd rather try to figure it out on our own, but we'll go on for millions of lifetimes trying to figure it out on our own. But finally, by doing that, what does Krishna say? And he says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mang prapadyate vasudeva sarmati sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. After many, many births and deaths, those who are wise surrender unto me. Accepting me as the all in all. Such a great soul is very rare. So, we may try to do it on our own, by our own jnana, our own intelligence, you see. But, in due course of time, we will finally come to the point of surrendering to Krishna. So why postpone it? Why not do it now? By following the instructions of the Gita. Okay, is it okay to chant japa in one's head without saying the Maha Mantra aloud or mouthing it, or is it better to hear one's own voice? What if one can't pronounce it right? Okay. Now, of course, it's very nice if one can think if one can, in one's mind, one can be going constantly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. It'd be very nice if one's mind could constantly be doing that, but who is able to do that? Don't kid yourself into thinking that actually I'm chanting Hare Krishna all day long. All 16 words of the mantra are going constantly in my brain all day long while I'm watching TV, while I'm doing this. I'm constantly chanting. No, don't kid yourself, please. Do not kid yourself into thinking that you're constantly chanting the Maha Mantra while you're absorbed in sense gratification. It's not happening. If you want your consciousness to actually be elevated beyond the modes of nature, then kindly follow the directions of the great sages who know perfectly what you need to get out of illusion. If you go to the doctor and he gives you the prescription, you think, well, my dear doctor, I don't think you have to give me the right prescription. I'm just going to do whatever I want. He says, well, okay, fine. Good luck. It's stated specifically in the Brihad Naradiya Purana, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. You see? Chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. Now, practically speaking, in previous ages, they could silently meditate. They were able to do that. Their minds were much more peaceful, much more controlled. They could silently meditate. But in this age, our minds are too restless. Even Arjuna, in the previous yuga, understood that his mind was too restless to meditate. So we require our meditation in this age has to be audible. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I guarantee you, if you try to meditate silently, you're not going to be able to fully absorb yourself on the transcendental plane. You won't be able to. You don't have in this age, we do not have the power to do that. We don't. It's just the nature of the age we're in, the age of Kali. We don't have the power to do that. Therefore, we have to utter the name audibly. Because when the mind becomes trapped in between the pronunciation and the hearing of the name, then it has no escape, and it has to go into the meditative state. You see, the idea is we have to get the mind into the meditative state. That's the whole point. We have to get the mind into the meditative state beyond the modes of nature. But without the audible chanting, you won't be able to do it. But if you can chant at least 16 rounds audibly with the beads every day, then your mind will become subdued and it will become transcendently absorbed, and you'll be able to carry that transcendental meditative state with you throughout the day. If you can't pronounce it correctly, well, the Krishna understands what you mean. So my wife is constantly trying to correct my Sanskrit. There's certain letters I can't even hear the difference between a T with a dot under it and a T not with a dot under it.
Chinese and Mexican, they have to chant in their language. They don't have all the...
Yeah, in Mexico, I remember hearing the devotees from Mexico. They were singing, that Jai Jagannath, but they were going, Ya Ya Jagannath, Ya Ya Jagannath, Ya Ya Jagannath, Ya Ya Jagannath. Krishna accepted, you see. And I've heard the Chinese, they go, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, like that. So the real thing is the sincerity. Krishna knows if you're calling out to him. He doesn't think, well, your Sanskrit is no good. No. What is the feeling in the heart? Try your best to do the best you can. I remember Jayananda, who was the original Jayananda, the famous Jayananda, the Ratha Yatra hero of ISKCON. Prabhupada tried to teach him how to properly connect the Gayatri mantra. He could not do it. Prabhupada just gave up. Couldn't do it. But just see what a sincere, wonderful devotee was. Prabhupada confirmed he had gone back to Godhead. Now I'm sure he chants perfect Sanskrit in the spiritual world. But the main thing is you have to sincerely act with love. That's the main thing. Serve with love. Chant with love. How do we see everything equally? Very simple. See everything as the property of Krishna. See everyone and everything as the part and parcel of Krishna. And automatically you have equal vision. Okay? How can I convince someone who is convinced there is no one else above Vishnu? That's all right. Because Vishnu and Krishna are the same person. Vishnu, when the Supreme Lord is in the office, he's Vishnu, and when he's at home, he's Krishna. It's the same thing. It's the same person, just in different capacities. When he's engaged in administration, then he manifests 2 extra arms, and he's Lord Vishnu. But when he wants to relax and have a good time at home, he leave the other arms inside and pick up the flute, you see. God at home is Krishna, and God at the office is Vishnu. So we have no problem. If somebody rather worship at the office, there's no problem. If you want to have your relationship with somebody in official capacity in the office, that's your right. You can do that. We'd rather associate with home with him at home in a more intimate setting. You see. So either way, it's okay. Either way, you can go back to Godhead. Of course, which part of the spiritual world you go, you can go to the Vaikuntha realm or the Golok Vrindavan, your choice. If you'd rather be in a more official capacity, like the Holy of the Holies, or you want to be an intimate personal associate, it's up to you. You can have if you prefer the Vishnu Ras, that's fine. We have no objection.
But the process of worship remains same. But the process of worship remains same, isn't it?
In either case, you have to fully surrender to Him. And you have to give up your material desires, your sense gratification, and be fully surrendered servant in either case. Okay. They think that there is no specific verse that mentions the Purusha avatars. That there is no specific verse that mentions the Purusha avatars, but it's just something given in the purport. Which verse can I use to support my argument? Well, I'd have to... Who's asked the question? Okay. I have to do some research. And I don't know.
It's in the Bhagavatam.
Something like this, you have to send me an email and let me look in the database. But everything that our entire philosophy is solidly based on the Shastric evidence. That's a fact. I don't know every single verse. I don't know all of the 18,000 verses in the Bhagavad. I wish I did, but I don't know which specific verse. But if you put this in an email, then I can look for them. So, what is karma yoga? Well, karma yoga means it actually is devotional service. Karma yoga. See, karma means to work for the fruits of one's work. But karma yoga means you work according to your natural capacity and you utilize that result in the service of Krishna. So karma yoga is a introductory level Krishna consciousness, devotional service. But when you go higher to pure bhakti, that means, see, the karma yogi, he likes to work in a certain way and he's attached to working in a certain way, but he offers it to Krishna. So it's devotional service. But when that karma yoga becomes pure bhakti yoga, then he can work in any way. It doesn't matter. It's not that I have to work in this way for Krishna because that's my karmic tendency. The bhakti yogi the karma yogi becomes a bhakti yogi in due course because by offering the result of he's attached to working in a certain way, but he offers that work to Krishna, the result of the work to Krishna. And that way, gradually he becomes more attached to pleasing Krishna than he is to working in a particular way. Also, the three types of yogas lead to the same result. Yes, if the yoga is there, that means you're connecting. If yes, then why is bhakti yoga given as the only way to reach Krishna? Well, any yoga which, see, there's jnana and there's jnana yoga. Jnana means this, mental, means to speculate, meant to try to speculate to arrive at the absolute truth. But that can go on for millions of lifetimes. But jnana yoga, that means now I'm very keen to study the Vedic wisdom, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm not engaged in it yet, but I'm very much keen to study it and understand it. So that understanding, that jnana yoga, will naturally lead to bhakti. Because once you understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you will naturally engage in His service. But bhakti is the perfection. How can we increase our interest in chanting and overcome laziness? Well, this laziness question I asked one of our sannyasis many years ago. I actually was very impressed by his answer. Because I noted in myself a certain tendency towards laziness, and I knew it wasn't very good. So I was asking actually for my own benefit, thinking how can I overcome my laziness. So I said, okay, how can I overcome laziness in Krishna's service? And I'll be honest with you, I was quite scared. He would say, well, by hard work. I wanted to overcome it, but I was really scared he would say by hard work. But he answered in such a way, I was really impressed. He with 2 words, he said, by love. I went, wow, that's really it, Because if you love someone, just like the mother loves the child, and she works day and night, 24 hours a day practically, to take care of that baby, you see. I mean, who works harder than a mother? A mother is the hardest working person in all the 3 worlds, actually. No, the one works hard, but she doesn't take it as work. It's her loving affection for her child, you see. Constantly. Practically 24 hours a day she's on call. 24 hours a day, working so hard. But she doesn't even think she's working. It's her loving affection, you see. So in this way, if we can love Krishna, then there's no question of laziness. So how do you increase your interest in chanting? In other words, how do you adjust your consciousness so that the chanting is enchanting? One could ask in that way, you see. That it's not something, well, I got to chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. No. How you can elevate your consciousness where the chanting is enchanting. And the best answer I know is from Rupa Goswami. So I'll give you his answer. Tunde tandavali viting vitanute tundavali labdaye karma krodha kadambani gatayate kunarvinde braspriham chaita prangana sangani vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janita ki adviramita krishneti varnadvai. He says like this. He says, I do not know how much nectar these two syllables, Krishna, have produced. Because whenever I chant Krishna, that name dances in my mouth. And when it dances in my mouth, I want millions of mouths. And when those names enter into the holes of my ears, then I want to have millions and billions of ears. And when the names dance within the courtyard of my heart, my mind becomes completely conquered and I'm stunned in a state of transcendental wonder. So, if you can just learn to understand the name as Rupa Goswami is explaining, then you become absolutely addicted to the name. Simply have to understand what Rupa Goswami is talking about. How much nectar is there in the name? You say, what does he mean? Millions of mouths and millions of ears. What is the meaning? Well, do you like gulab jamun? Okay. All right, this is an example. Let's say this devotee, he went on a book distribution. He had a very wonderful day. I mean, he set a new record for the world. And Jagji Prabhu wanted to reward him, so he made a special present for him, and he came and said, Prabhu, okay, come back, we have a special gift for you. You set a new ISKCON, you did 10 million books in one day, and whatever. And we want to honor you. So you come to the temple room, you find there's 100,000 gulab jamuns here in the temple room, stacked to the ceiling, And he says, okay, Jagji Prabhu says, okay, Prabhu, go ahead and enjoy this gift we have given you. Here's the 100,000 gulab jamuns. Now have a good time. You say, well, Jagjivan Prabhu, I really appreciate your wonderful gesture, but I don't see how I can possibly enjoy 100,000 gulab jamuns. I mean, maybe 10. If I really push it, maybe 10. I'm really hungry. I can enjoy 10 of them, but 100,000 gulab jamuns, how is it possible? But then you see, if some mystic yogi comes up and he says, we will give you, 100,000 bellies and 100,000 mouths, then you understand. So then I could enjoy. You see. So in this way, Rupa Goswami is saying that what with my one little mouth and my two little ears, I mean, there's so much nectar in this Krishna that I just can't begin to even get a little infinitesimal fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. You get the idea of the nectar which is there in Krishna. So I just need some more mouths and more ears so I can start to get at least a little bit more of that unlimited ocean of nectar which is available. So if we have this understanding that there's unlimited nectar simply in one utterance of Krishna, then I tell you, when you pick up that bead bag, you feel like it's a Sunday love feast right there, the ultimate Sunday, like the Janmashtami feast or something, right there in that bead bag. So it's just a matter of proper understanding, really. If we're not interested in chanting, it means we're dull. We don't really understand the nectar that's available in Krishna. So we just try to come to a proper understanding of how much nectar is available in Krishna. And then I guarantee you won't be interested in anything except for Krishna 24 hours a day. And 16 rounds will just be the starting point. You'll be, that's what Prabhupada said, at least 16 rounds every day. So we have, that point will come. If we keep chanting our regulated 16 rounds, we'll finally reach that point where we'll come to Rupa Goswami's consciousness, and we'll just be, the name will be dancing in the courtyard of our heart. We'll be completely stunned in transcendental wonder, you see. So anyway, our time has probably gone out the window here, and we thank you all very much for participating in this Krishna consciousness movement. Kindly work together cooperatively under the direction of your temple president here, Jagjivan Prabhu. Kindly study Prabhupada's books very nicely. Try to follow the instructions contained within them. Because if you can follow the great acharyas, you see, Mahajano Yena Gatasta Panta, if you follow the great acharyas, then your pathway out of the cycle of birth and death is guaranteed in this lifetime. So kindly follow these great acharyas, Mahajano Yena Gatasta Panta, and at the time of death, we guarantee you will go to sleep and you'll wake up with Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sankarsana Prabhu ki jai.